Hello and welcome to our Live at Lunch virtual tour of our newest collections display of bourbon artifacts. We're live here today at the Kentucky History Center in historic downtown Frankfort. My name is Greg and I'll act as your voice today. We are in the main exhibition gallery called A Kentucky Journey. Ask your questions in the comments section and I'll share your questions with our museum program coordinator, Rebecca Wisniewski, which I've said that name 1,000 times, and just now on virtual tour, I can't say her name. Rebecca Wisniewski. So there you go. We're going to meet with her, and she's going to give us a tour of the artifacts. While you enjoy your lunch, we'll share some bite-sized history and let you know all about some exciting programming that we have coming up. So be sure to let us know where you are watching from and post your questions in the comments. Here, let's turn the camera around and meet Rebecca.
Hi guys, welcome, good afternoon, happy lunching for those of you who are on your lunch break. We so appreciate you guys joining us. So I'm here to show you our lovely bourbon and bluegrass exhibition. So once again, these things rotate, so you got to get here while you can. And every Saturday we'll be doing a 30-minute tour. So the next 2 Saturdays, so that would be this October 4th. Thank you, Greg. And then October...
What's that, 11th, maybe?
11th, yeah. So at
7 days from the 4th?
Right.
Yeah.
3 to 3:30, we're going to take a deep dive in here. We're going to walk a little bit around the permanent exhibit. But today, I'm just giving you a little taste of what we're going to be talking about and looking at what our wonderful curatorial staff has been able to pull for us. And
so before you get started, we're going to give you a thought to sip on, all of our viewers out there. Here's a little thought to sip on during Rebecca's virtual tour. What is it that makes bourbon so special to us as Kentuckians? What unifying feature makes Kentucky bourbon so special?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how many bourbon aficionados we have that are like charred oak barrels, limestone, all of these different things that go into the production of whiskey distilling. And we're going to dive right in, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, let's go.
Right. So we've got a lot of different pieces here. I'm going to be honing in on 4. We've got our top hat right here. This clear, it might be tough to see. This clear bottle
on camera, okay.
Right here, excellent. The decanter right next to it, and this teeny tiny little Jim Beam bottle. Now, looking at these artifacts, you're probably going to have some preconceived notions. Maybe you're drawn to 1 or 2 or 3, or maybe all of them, which is great if you are. But we're going to go ahead and get started with this hat. Seems pretty innocuous enough. This is a beaver pelt hat, and it actually belonged to Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor Jr. A lot of folks don't realize he was a junior, but Colonel
So wait a minute,
Taylor,
that guy is pretty famous. Let's not skirt over that there.
No. So considered the father of modern distilling. He is in the ancestry of places like Buffalo Trace, really big time distilleries. He actually created his own distillery called Old Fire Copper, which was absorbed and is now part of our modern day Buffalo Trace distillery, right? Now, Colonel E.H. Taylor is one of our earlier distillers, right? And now I don't want to gloss over, E.H. Taylor is a little bit of an exception. He descended from 2 different presidents. He's a descendant of James Madison and his uncle, Zachary Taylor, who he lived with for a period of time.
Zachary Taylor.
Yep, down in New Orleans, he was with Uncle Zachary.
That's it. That just makes so much sense. Right. Down in New Orleans, Bourbon Street. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's interesting, too, Greg, because he actually was sent back up to stay with his namesake, his other uncle, Edmund Haynes Taylor Sr., and he was a banker. And E.H. Taylor originally got his taste of bourbon in the bourbon industry through banking. He was bankrolling a lot of early distillers, and he gets to know these fellas, and then you get things like O.F.C, Old Fire Copper, like I said, his distillery. But E.H. Taylor is also a really big center point in Frankfort history. If you ever come and visit us here at the History Center, we have tours like Tipsy Town Tales where we actually focus on E.H. Taylor.
Oh, that's a great tour, too.
It's so much fun. My colleague Chris and I go on it, as well as our colleague James. It's a fantastic tour, downtown walking tour in our mixed district. Highly recommend.
Oh, let's not skirt over that either, because you get to walk through downtown historic Frankfurt in the fall. The weather's great. You get to enjoy all of the different sights and sounds with your friends. It's a great tour.
And we get to make it, and it's one big circle, so you're not going to be like miles away from your car when you're done. It's a great time, and the people behind the bar that are serving you are just as interesting as some of the people we're talking about on tour, right? So E.H. Taylor, as I said, is a main political figure in Frankfurt. He's very involved in the community. He's very much a people person. He was the mayor of Frankfurt for 16 years.
Wait a minute, I didn't even know that.
He was the mayor of Frankfurt, yeah, for 16 years, very active in local politics, right? Which I would imagine you would have to be a bit of a people person to be when you're working with bourbon and people, right? So, fantastic, interesting man. Now, I said that he was a bit of a shooting star, a rarity, right? A lot of our earlier distillers who are even distilling on the frontier, right? Bourbon is not necessarily a brand new thing by the time E.H. Taylor comes into the scene. But other folks, it's really important to note, some of them didn't have the option or the luxury of going into distilling. Some of them were people of color who were actually enslaved, and they were the ones doing the distilling. Sometimes they were the ones actually adjusting recipes for mashes to make sure that they were just right. So that's an important thing that we don't want to overlook when we're talking about the bourbon industry, especially in Kentucky. Okay, now let's move on down the line. Now, E.H. Taylor, for a long, long time, pushed for something called the Bottled and Bond Act. And he really, really wanted to make sure that bourbon was of the highest quality. It also gave distillers a little bit of a tax break. Who doesn't like a tax break?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And it was finally achieved, the Bottle and Bond Act, which you can actually see. I'm not going to give everything away, but we've got this William Berkeley Sour Mash that still has the green tax. It's still sealed for the Bottle and Bond Act.
Top,
Yeah. So to make sure that it hadn't been watered down, it wasn't being resold, and then people putting silly stuff into the bourbon and getting it messed up. We didn't want that. So think of it like FDA approval things very early on, right?
Sure.
Now we get that tax break, we pass it, woo woo woo, and then comes the 18th Amendment. Prohibition, 1920. Very sad time for Kentuckians, right? So the 18th Amendment, you are not selling, distributing, or manufacturing bourbon, except for medicinal purposes. So our friends at Brown-Forman...
I'm feeling a little sick right now.
Right. Our friends at Brown-Forman were actually one of the few distilleries that actually housed bourbon and continued distilling during Prohibition for medicinal purposes, right? Now, before Prohibition, how do we get there, right? How do we get people so flustered with bourbon? Well, one woman actually from Garrett County, Kentucky.
That's right, Garrett.
Yeah. Caroline Amelia Nation, also known as Carrie Nation. We've got this bottle right here. And the fun thing about this bottle is it's clear. Yes, it's clear. And I'm hoping that we'll share the catalog image, and you can get you can zoom in and really see all the features. She kind of looks like Frosty the Snowman. Close up.
I don't know, Frosty mixed with a little Mary Poppins, because she kind of has like an umbrella going on there.
A little bit of Miss Buttersworth,
yeah,
maybe,
definitely.
for a syrup bottle.
I can see that.
Now, the interesting thing about this is it's not a decanter. Okay, it's actually contained vinegar.
Oh,
this was created.
That's not bourbon.
No, no. And Carrie Nation, for those of you who are familiar, who are not familiar with Carrie Nation, she pushed for prohibition and the temperance movement, big time. She actually made her way to Louisville in 1904. And she would travel through the Midwest into bars with a hatchet and a Bible. She would sometimes read scripture and then just come in, really kill the mood in a bar, right? Just take her hatchet and destroy things, and typically yell things at the men who were in there. She really believed that things like alcohol were actually keeping men from being at home. A lot of money was being spent on alcohol instead of the home. Yep. And then, of course, you've also got... sadly, you've got domestic violence that she really pointed to alcohol as being a fire starter for things like that, right? So she felt very strongly about this. She actually said to a Louisville bartender in 1904, "You should not be in this business to send men's souls to hell." Okay,
Ooh.
strong words, right? So
She didn't mince her words at all.
So you can imagine vinegar would be a proper taste for her, right?
Yeah.
Vinegar. So this bottle was actually manufactured in 1925, so during Prohibition, right? We don't get out of Prohibition until December 5th, 1930. So, Carrie Nation, this bottle, it's not even necessarily Carrie Nation. The Carrie Nation, that nickname was actually given by bottle collectors, which I think is very clever of them, right? Especially for the vinegar. I really like that.
So it wasn't intentionally designed as a Carrie bottle?
No, and that's why you've kind of got this, if it had been Carrie Nation, how could you resist putting the hatchet in there and the Bible? But it does look like she's holding actually like a carpet bag and an umbrella. So, but looking at it from different angles, you might be able to think, oh, is she holding some kind of hatchet or weapon? But she is wearing a top hat, and if you look up images of Carrie Nation, she is typically portrayed with her nice little rotund body and a top hat with her hatchet and Bible in hand, staring down the camera. Very intense lady who had strong and passionate feelings, which, hey, don't we all? Now, moving on down the line, we get past Prohibition, World War II, and you'd think post-Prohibition, bourbon sales way up, right? Well, after World War II, people started really getting into cocktail culture, right? So people don't necessarily want their bourbon neat. They want to have a Cosmo, right? They want to have vodka-based products. And so the Kentucky distillers have to really come up with different ways to market bourbon and make it interesting again. Let's make it fun, right? And so you get a lot of interesting decanters post-World War II, especially in the late 60s, early 70s. And a perfect example of this can be seen in our 100th Kentucky Derby 1974 decanter right here. So this is from Jim Beam. All right, and you see this play out even today. I know, not to name drop, but Woodford Reserve. I know my family's not full of bourbon drinkers, but a lot of art is typically placed on those bottles, and they're like one shot. You've got this time frame to buy them, and then they're gone. And they're great gifts. They're beautiful. As you can see, this could be used as a nice decor piece just in your living room. And it's Derby. Who doesn't want to celebrate that? It's quintessential Kentucky, right? So you can imagine going to the Derby in 1974. It's the 100th anniversary of the running of the Kentucky Derby, and you can see the 100.
Oh, yeah, you can see it right on there.
You've got the 100, right, and then you've got the two horseshoes, and it's very ornate. It's very fun. So you can imagine you're going to the Derby if you're coming from out of town. This, I don't want to call it a tchotchke. It means so much more than that. But this is what you want to bring home, right? It's worth the buy because it's once in a lifetime. It's a historic moment, right? Now, finally, we've got our smallest artifact up top, and it is a Jim Beam bottle. Seems pretty regular. I know, cruising through our catalog, looking up things about bourbon, this wasn't the first thing that really caught my eye, right? We want to get drawn to the E.H. Taylors and some of those people. But this holds a special place in my mind because this was actually left at our Kentucky Vietnam Veterans Memorial in 2005. Yeah, so you can see, if you look closely, and you might be able to get a better shot on the side, Greg, this bottle is not full.
No, it's not.
It's not full.
Had a little sip taken out of it, maybe.
Maybe one little sip. So when we look at artifacts like bourbon, and if you remember, we kind of asked that question together of what is that unifying thing that makes Kentucky bourbon so special, right? So you can imagine whoever decided to put this up, Rolling Thunder actually is the group that this came from. And they are a motorcycle group that represent POWs, MIA groups, things like that. And they actually take motorcycle rides up to the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. So you can imagine just going up to the Kentucky Vietnam Veterans Memorial, if you've been there, just somebody taking a sip for a friend, someone maybe they lost, someone maybe they don't know where they are,
Yeah.
and then leaving that. And
In
the
memoriam, yeah.
fact, in
It's
memoriam, and the fact that it's bourbon, right? It's not a can of Coke. It's not Sprite. It's not even a beer. It's bourbon, right? So really, my answer to the question we posed earlier is,
and that question again is, what is it that makes bourbon so special to us as Kentuckians? What unifying feature makes Kentucky bourbon so special?
when you think about it, it's the meaning that we give it, and it's the people, right? It's the E.H. Taylors. It's the Carrie Nations, whether you're for or against it. It's the people behind it. All of the people that went into the Kentucky Derby that led up to those 100 years. The people who watched. The people who made it a phenomenon. And then knowing that bourbon is something that we leave even for our friends who we've lost.
Yes.
Right?
Thanks to our commenters so far. Thank you, Jennifer, for noting that it is a three-sided case. So, yeah, it's really great to be able to get to the side of some of these things. And you can almost see the back of some of these things a little bit, too.
Yes.
So that's important. And then also we had a comment about the Derby decanter that we just talked about there. Yeah. Thank you, Jessica, for noting that. And there's several other things that are part of this display that we're not going to talk about here. You'll have to come and see the program. Tell us when the next program is.
Our next program is going to be this coming Saturday at 3 o'clock. You can come if you want leading that tour.
We lost connection for just a second. Repeat yourself just real quick.
So we are going to be having another tour at 3 o'clock this coming Saturday. You can come and visit us. It's about 30 minutes, right in the sweet spot, right? And I tell you what, I'm the one that's leading it. And if you have more questions or you want to dive deeper into our catalog, I'm happy to hang out here with you as long as you'd like. We close at 5. So just to let you know that. But like I said, all of these pieces have a really unique background, an amazing context, and they all point to the people of Kentucky. And some of them might surprise you. I know some of them surprised me too. If you have any other questions or comments.
I don't see any other questions or comments. But make sure that you post them in the comment section, and I'll be monitoring it throughout the day. And if you have a question that Rebecca or I cannot answer, we'll pose the question of our collections team or our researchers. See what we can answer for you.
Yeah.
One more question. Of these objects, which one interests you the most? Either the top hat, the Carrie Nation vinegar bottle, the decanter, or the Jim Beam bottle? Which one interests you the most? Post your question in the comment section. And thanks for everybody for joining in with us today. Tell us again when that Tipsy Town tour is.
Our Tipsy Town Tales tours, ooh, that's a mouthful, will be in, I believe our next one is also this Saturday. But you can always go to our website at history.ky.gov under the events page, and we've got all those Tipsy Town Tales. You just click on it. It shows you the dates. Bring a couple friends. It's a great time. If you've gone once, come back again. You're probably going to get some different stories.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today for another Live at Lunch. We'll catch you again in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.